Artist Journal, September 22nd, 2022, Berlin. My name is Adrian Pocobelli, your artist reporter. We are now 6 weeks in. I took off a couple of days for the wedding. 6 weeks in, it always feels like my first day. So I appreciate the patience as I learn this broadcasting situation. I wanted to delete yesterday's episode, but you just gotta put it all in. So anyways, you just gotta keep it and you just gotta go with it. And so anyways, thank you for all the support and the likes very quickly before we get to this beautiful gloom tube. It's like we have our format here. A big shout out to Culture 3 and Georgie Miller, who basically gave me the nicest profile I've ever had. It's all about the meaning for me in conversation with Adrian Pocobelli. I'll leave a link in the description. culture3.xyz/post/Pocobelli, a very nice profile. Put some nice works up, some works from the Peloponnesian War here. I have to send, there's a couple of small corrections, just little tiny things, but I mean, again, this is the nicest profile I've ever had. And I have done a few interviews, but it was just really well written. Let me just make sure our mic is on here. We're good. Okay, so thank you to Georgie Miller. And actually, in a quick correction as well, we were talking about futurism yesterday. I think I was saying that Umberto Boccioni wrote the first manifesto. Again, I wanted to delete yesterday's episode, but you just leave it. It's actually Filippo Tommaso Marinetti, famously, who wrote the first manifesto of futurism in 1909, which is interesting. And remember, we were talking about how futurism, in my view, is a response to Cubism. And Cubism, I think we could give it a date of about 1905. I mean, 1904, 1905. I mean, Picasso's Blue Period was around 1904, 1905, and then they started doing the Cubist works in France with Georges Braque. Really, I think we could call him the co-creator. I am not an expert on Cubism, but I'm fairly familiar with the works and somewhat of the tradition. So, a couple of things I just wanted to point out. This is a pretty extreme manifesto, and there's just a couple of points that I wanted to put in here that kind of illustrate that, and you can read the rest on your own. But just to give you a taste of how radical this is, point 9, we will glorify war, the only true hygiene of the world. Now remember, this is pre-World War I, so I think these guys kind of got shut up by World War I. You could argue, I've heard Ballard has made the argument that the Dadaists, who were more in the 1920s, got shut up by World War II. So this whole like, oh, we're going to throw everything out, rationality and everything, and all our tradition, and then war shows up like 3 or 4 years later. Yeah, so let me continue here. Militarism, patriotism, the destructive gesture of anarchists, the beautiful ideas which kill, and the scorn of woman. So just to give you like a historical idea, now these guys were given a big show at Guggenheim 10 years ago when I was there. So it's interesting how the art and the politics separate. And final word on that, I mean, the futurists, they were largely like declared fascists. Okay, they were huge supporters of fascism. You can see futurist fascist posters that they made. So, and this is just one more point I want to put here. We will destroy museums, libraries, and fight against moralism, feminism, and all utilitarian cowardice. So pretty extreme stuff, but that is history. And so, you know, as you look at these works and just so go, oh, look at how beautiful, like, I mean, the politics are highly questionable, to put it mildly. So just a little history lesson there as I got the, yeah. So, but I mean, nevertheless, you'll see their works at major museums and at Guggenheim having a major retrospective. So, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing either, if the artworks are innovative, but it's, you see how complicated this is politically, particularly today. I mean, I guess my question is, and then we'll get back to GloomTube here. You can put on a futurist show 10 years ago. Can you put on a futurist show today? I don't know. So I just put out that question, and to me, I don't know the answer to that question. And actually, there is one more thing. Boccioni, and again, so here I go, and then I go, oh, look at this beautiful artwork by Umberto Boccioni, who did that one, The Continuity of Forms in Space, that sculpture that we looked at yesterday. The Riot in the Gallery. Now, I used to always think of this as like some Gagosian-type gallery in my little fantasy world. That's not what this is. Sometimes like an outdoor mall, I think, can be called like a gallery of sorts. And this, you can see, is a cafe. But what I did want to point out is you still see the legacy of Georges Seurat and Divisionism, as well as, which is post-impressionism, as well as impressionism, in these little dots. Again, kind of bouncing off of this scientific, atomistic view of the world. The model of the atom was being, discovered. I think it was Rutherford 20 years later. But I mean, they're getting towards this point, and there were different developments. I'm not an expert in that. I have some familiarity. But again, you see movement as well, and just flux and social upheaval. So they were kind of, I mean, I don't think it's an overstatement to call them anarchists. I mean, they would probably call themselves fascists. So anyways, I don't want to this is a family-friendly show here. But just to give you, but that is the history. So I thought I'd just, do a little correction on, it wasn't Boccioni who wrote the first Manifesto of Futurism, because it's important that we know the history here as we kind of try and give credibility to what's going on right now and try and relate it to a tradition. So remember the art of the present, Ballard's term. I said all my stories in a kind of visionary present. Well, we're back to the visionary present here with GloomTube, who put out this work yesterday, a self-checkout. Well, let's see if there's a title on it. Self-checkout late at night. Another very poetic work by GloomTube, our guy who puts the yellow heads and the happy faces, or unhappy, who's putting in his little debit card here. And it's almost kind of, what I like about this is it's almost this kind of, first of all, it's kind of a lonely work. There's nobody else except for this indoor hunting magazine. So kind of, again, this isolated person, and the person itself, interestingly, again, remember Metadreams, looking at a corrupt kind of society, one person against this massively bureaucratic kind of corrupt world. You see similar flavors with this small guy putting his card in against this massive technology. Great symbolism here too. I mean, to me, again, this is museum quality material, and it's even like, who cares if it belongs in a museum? This is art for us. This is an art of the present, as Ballard puts it, an art of the visionary present. So a fantastic work by GloomTube, sold out very quickly. Only 6 Tezos. Like, you gotta love that. He could put like 15 if he wanted to. Sold out very quickly, listed at 11:07 Berlin time, sold out in 20 minutes. I luckily got one of those last ones as I transferred from Binance quickly. You gotta leave more money in your wallet, otherwise you tend to miss stuff like that. So awesome work. Moving on, here's the data. So I missed this completely. All my notifications, I didn't see them in my notifications, but an awesome work by Adelia in her new series. Again, an art of the present. You see Twitter, you see Discord, you see someone on a computer basically falling asleep from, let's call it exhaustion, a cool little retro digital clock, because that's cool, and a phone. So again, this is where I see commentary on our contemporary lives of the present, particularly in what I call kind of this illustration genre. And I will go into that soon, the genres of digital art very, very soon. Perhaps this weekend I will start that. And so again, just a fantastic work by her, 99 notifications. So here, 99 notifications. You see busy in virtual life, tired of real life. You see a kind of exhaustion, a digital exhaustion. Poetic. I wish I hadn't missed this. Now it's 50. Maybe you can put an offer in, only 15 though, and Adelia, as we know, has a pretty hot market. Let's just see. Now, she listed it, and they were all offers at 4 Tezos, and then they were all accepted. So basically, I assume she mentioned it on Twitter, and then you had to put an offer in if you followed her on Twitter. So maybe I need to put her notifications on Twitter so I don't miss the next one. A new artist I hadn't seen before, Cins, C-I-N-S, I assume that's how you pronounce it. Only 3 Tezos, Golden Hour and Seashell. Cool work. Again, we're in this kind of contemporary, what I call contemporary illustration. This is just I mean, there's nothing overly contemporary about a beach, but a really nice, kind of reminds me of Kaws, K-A-W-S, that really popular digital artist, sorry, not digital artist, contemporary artist, who kind of blew up the art scene about 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Kind of has a Kaws look to it, especially in the clouds, really nicely rendered, just kind of cool composition, beautiful work. So I picked it up, 12, I think I picked it up. 12 edition of 12, 3 Tezos. There's probably one left. Here's more. So you do see almost, perhaps there is a Kaws influence. You see it in the Mickey Mouse, but really nice Mickey Mouse here. Cool guy, or girl, woman, whoever it is, cool artist. So I followed them, and I thought, just a little out of order here. So here, this is selling for $9.99. I thought we could just look at the history here. So this sold for $55. Nice purchase for a 1 of 1, if you ask me. So very interesting. Let me see here. Let me just move this over here. The Failed Artist 2 by Wasteman Goldminovich, who's becoming, I mean, considering the outrageousness almost of his work and style, I'm impressed at how he keeps just making work that I have to cover here. So the second version of The Failed Artist, and he's got some fries on his head, some Camel cigarettes, and some frog drink, and jeans covered. I mean, almost the cliche of the artist, with jeans covered in paint. I love it. How much is this? $2.10. Have I bought this? I don't think so. I'm going to pick this up. Another great work by Wasteman Goldminovich. And here's another work by Dan Control, or Dan CTRL, a Nokia phone. Another nice addition to this series here. I used to have one exactly like this. I think that was the model I had. The late 90s. Is it sold out now? Looks like it. So yeah, sold out. Maybe you can get it on secondary. Nokia 3310, using it now would be a privilege. And let me just go to this myth really quickly. So Myth Drop. So this was Mikey Wilson collaborating with the Myth and basically turning the Argentina flag into a myth sun. And let's just quickly bring this up. So sold out, edition of 100, sold out right away. I picked one up and now is selling for 3 Tezos. So congratulations to both of them. Mikey Wilson, definitely, we've mentioned him pretty regularly too, because he is definitely a person on the town in this digital world here. Marcelo Pinell, surprisingly, we haven't talked about Marcelo Pinell, maybe because he's moved over to Ethereum mostly, because he makes great sales over there. But he did just do a drop here. It hasn't gone for sale yet. I consider him kind of essential Tezos, like if you are building your own museum or collection and you kind of want to have the full collection. In my universe, you kind of need a Marcelo Pinell just to kind of have that kind of comprehensive view. So this is called The Awakening of Spring, loop animation, 2048 by 2048, 30 frames per second. So transferred to Jeannot Lapin Gallery. So that's what happened. So Jeannot Lapin Gallery is back on the scene, commissioning works, it looks like. So the plot thickens with Jeannot Lapin, who is really making a play here. All sorts of stuff going on. All sorts of stuff. So they're making moves. Interesting, right? So Marcelo Pinell, a new work. And if you don't know his work, you can check it out here. There's still some, I mean, it tends to be expensive. Generally, you need to pay 30 or 40 to just get that first mint. And yeah, like, I mean, I think I actually brought one up here. Yeah, good. So this one, The Feast of the Gods, I mean, this is kind of classic Marcelo Pinell. They're pretty heavy files, so they might pause a little bit here, but they're quite beautiful, as you can see. There's nothing quite like it. So again, and you even have the tradition is in here, so no problem putting that in your digital art museum. So very cool. You got the world here and all of it. So great work from Marcelo Pinell. Another work by Spogels Maskinen, Room Service. And this is kind of classic here of Spogels Maskinen, where you see the old mobile phone, and then you have a beating heart, and it's kind of done with this kind of rasterized bitmap, classic animation. You have a rose, so really cool. He burnt a few, so it's not like I saw this at first, and I saw it as an edition of 25 for 35 each, and it seemed kind of expensive for me. But now it's only 15, and he's got actually a pretty strong market, and so yeah, he just burned 10, and yeah, remember the security cameras we were looking at last time? So he's a pretty cool artist, and you see they actually go for a pretty penny, the works here. So pretty strong market, pretty strong, for lack of a better term, fan base. As we move on, Clown Vamp, my mission, I thought this was a really interesting tweet. Clown Vamp, my mission to collect as many AI one-of-ones as possible continues. Recent acquisitions, Norm Hlopak, Crypto Hamster, Hood Laboratory, and Strange Thing. Let's just see. I mean, so it sounds like he's building a pretty serious AI museum, and it's probably now is the time because, you know, some people have speculated that AI could blow up. And I mean, nice one-of-ones here. And yeah, so if it does, I mean, Clown Vamp is basically kind of the dude, your guy. One of the main people. I mean, again, huge patron. He's dropping a lot of money. So again, Clown Vamp and AI. Again, you talk about AI. It's also Clown Vamp that kind of crosses my mind. You know, Red Rum continues to have really nice sales. Let me just look at the, not just Deep Red, but the whole thing. Where are we here? Recent sales. Okay, so 13 hours. So he's had a pretty good day and a half here. Sold out of this edition of 10, and then selling a ton of this edition of 1,000. I thought I saw at one point let me just go back to that Deep Red series, because I think he also sold a one-of-one for 280. Here it is, 13 hours ago. So that is a new all-time high. I saw him tweet for Red Rum for this work here. Sometimes these works can crash my mic halfway through. That's happened to me a couple of times, so I'm a little hesitant sometimes because then it screws up the entire recording. Okay, so there it is, 280. Very interesting composition. You almost see this predella of sorts. Predella is a great word. It's in medieval painting, when you see like the bottom three, there will be three little images at the bottom, and then there will be a big thing in an altarpiece. The bottom three images will be called the predella. This isn't quite a predella, but if you kind of covered the bottom, and then you could and then there's only one row, you might be able to call that a predella. What's this called? Interesting, kind of mysterious work. Overlook. Fragmented Memories, AI. So AI is back. Almost looks like a Google Images structure here. That's interesting. Very, very interesting there. So Red Rum continuing to turn heads. Board Me Social Club with another just kind of crazy work here. Looks like someone stabbed in the hand with this, again, weird airbrush cutout style egg, almost a hat tip to Dali. This looks like a Dali egg if I've ever seen one. melting figures, you know, almost reminds you of that anthropomorphic, what is this called? Wasted Time, sold out 5 editions for $350. So pretty cheap. Let me see if we can find that. Salvador Dali, Autumn Cannibalism, where it's just like people kind of melting. This one here, all of you know this, I'm sure. Let's just do this. And yeah, so I mean, not quite here, but yeah. But again, these melting figures, and then you get the melting eggs, which is classic Dali. So again, they're kind of a distant reference here. We talked about the new flag of Argentina. I did miss the title though. The new flag of Argentina, classic. New work by Native Ed, just, you know, what I call animated abstract, that genre. So just kind of a jarring work. Can't look at it for too long, or you got it. And finally, you know, I was talking about those works yesterday where I combine different images, renderings from Google Images. That it wasn't combines, it was called composites. And I'll just show you quickly, because I was actually kind of proud, and I kind of not forgot, but this is just a series that I'm kind of working on among others. So these were the 3 versions of the Entombment by Michelangelo that I found in Google Images. And the concept here is basically to combine all 3, and then you get your image. So kind of fun. I did another one with St. Jerome, composite St. Jerome genomics. And this is another thing. Instagram filters, or just filters in general, I think, not Adelia, Sumi Ray, she uses filters as well. I'm a big fan of using filters. They really can, it's kind of like that final, I call it the mastering process in digital art. Those filters can really be that kind of final, you know, it's like mastering in audio, in music, you know. And so I'll just show you the originals here, because it's kind of interesting how different they are. Like you see this one, this is what Google Images gives you. You see this one, completely different. And you see this one, okay? And maybe this is from Wikipedia, whatever. This is what the web is giving you. So I combined all 3, and then you get this one. And I just think it's kind of conceptually fun, visually interesting, and you get all sorts of interesting effects. I use a lot of the magic wand, again, one of my favorite tools. And you get all these, I think you know, you almost get these squares here with like the JPEGization. So yeah, I'm very proud of these works. I haven't minted them because I feel like I'm gonna run into copyright issues, but I actually won't. And I'm going to discuss that on another episode. We're going to go into copyright actually very soon, maybe when I actually mint this work that I'm going to put on Super Rare that I've been talking about for the last couple of days. When I actually mint it, then we can talk about copyright and why it's okay, what I'm doing. And it's very interesting. So finally, Hafka just had another, he's the guy who gave the speech the other day that we were playing. And he had more thoughts, basically, you know, talking more about the greatness of Web3 versus the contemporary art world. So worth a watch. Go to hafka.eth's Twitter. And I think that is everything. I'm going to list my 8-Bit Nature series right away. Thank you for all the support. And until next time, take care.